Hello, this will be the Q&A test for the 200 class. We have plaintiff attorney, Mr. Hirsch, H-E-R-S-H, and defense is Mr. Getchell, G-E-T-C-H-E-L. Again, plaintiff attorney, Mr. Hirsch, H-E-R-S-H, and defense is Mr. Getchell, G-E-T-C-H-E-L. Okay, this test is going to start with defense. Ready? Did you know how far the motorcyclist was going at the moment of impact? No. Do you know today? No. Do you know how fast the van was going if it was even going at the moment of impact? No. Do you know that today? No. What's the speed limit in this area? 45 miles per hour. Did you assume that the motorcyclist was going at least some speed at the moment of impact? Yes. Did you assume that if the motorcyclist was going at least some speed, that following impact the motorcyclist would travel a certain distance? Yes. I know you're not a reconstructionist. You've never calculated how far he would have traveled, right? Correct. And so tell me how you used his location on the roadway when you got there as a means of determining area of impact. It's just like you were saying before, in this situation where our collision scene was, I had determined, plus all the evidence with where his body was laying, I determined that it all had to be within that area. Well, let's put it this way. If he was going 45 miles an hour, whatever it was, then his body would have continued to go at least 45 miles per hour. If it didn't hit any obstacles, yes. I'm not getting into heavy physics. I'm just a PE major. Calls for expert opinion, calls for speculation, assumes facts. Let me strike my comment. Assuming for the moment the motorcyclist is going at some speed, then at the moment of impact, his body would have been thrown, correct? Correct. As far as using his area of impact or his area of rest, his point of rest, that's a very broad way to try and narrow down an area of impact. Would you agree? That is argumentative. No. Calls for speculation. No. You would not agree? No. So what you can say is you are able to use the location where he landed and came to rest to determine the area where the two vehicles came in contact with one another, the proximity. Yeah, within about a foot or two. Not within a foot or two. Within that, how many feet? I would say 100 feet or so. Okay, that would be east-west. Correct. Okay, and with regard to the pool of blood, when I go through these photographs, will I see the pool of blood? Yes. With regard to the pool of blood, that gives you an indication of where his body would have landed after the impact, right? Yes. And once again, that pool of blood, knowing that it was a result of him landing, that would give you an indication possibly of area of impact again within 100 feet or so. Correct. Okay, and then with regard to the glass field, the debris field, that would, if the van had been making a turn and had been going at a certain miles per hour, did you understand that the glass would also be continuing to go as the turn is being made following impact? Correct. So in other words, the glass, if it was broken, it wouldn't just drop right down. It would continue to go for some distance and then it would fall to the ground, correct? Correct. So with regard to the impact, I think you earlier mentioned, kind of give or take with regard to the glass field. Would you say the glass field will give you the area of impact within around 5 feet? Would that be accurate? Close to it. About 5, maybe 10. 5 or 10 feet? Yeah. Again, north-south, east-west. How about north-south? Same thing? I wouldn't say north-south because this collision was traveling in the same direction going westbound. Okay, there has to be some give or take, plus or minus, north-south, as well as east-west, true? Misstates testimony, calls for speculation, lacks foundation, assumes facts. You may answer. Because when the rider impacted the rear of the vehicle, it broke the rear windshield or the rear window, and then that vehicle was traveling southwest, so it would have gone farther west because when it broke, it would have then dropped as the vehicle is moving and come to a rest a little farther west of where the collision happened. Assuming the vehicle was also, as you mentioned, headed southerly, to a certain extent, the glass would have traveled southerly after the break. Correct. So there would be some distance that the glass would have traveled from the momentum of the van. Correct. Assuming the van was moving, right? Yes. At 10 miles an hour, that would be some distance, assuming she's right? Yes. So there would be, as far as a point of impact, you've got to bring it back into when it was more of a westerly direction, correct? Correct. About what do you think? Do you think 3, 4 feet, 5 feet? I don't know. Calls for expert opinion. You haven't calculated that? No. Okay, let's go off the record for a second. Let's just go for a few more minutes, and I appreciate your accommodation. Sure. Yes, thank you. Let's go to the statements portion, and we're at page 18. Okay, obviously you could not get a statement from Jack Rose. Correct. Was he declared deceased at the scene of the accident? No. And when you first went to him, it was soon following your getting there, right, at the scene? Yes. And you mentioned that there was some folks that were standing nearby. Do you think there was? How many, if you could tell, was there? Maybe 20 people, 20, 30 people would be in the area? Yes. How many were over them or over him, if there were any over him? Maybe half that, maybe 15, 10 or 15 people, 10 or 15. Okay, did you see anybody trying to assist in any way, doing CPR, anything like that? I believe that the paramedics were already performing CPR and immediately thereafter had him loaded onto the stretcher and loaded him into the ambulance. When you first got there, of the 10 or 15 people that were near Mr. Rose, were some of them paramedics? Yes. Okay, how many of them were paramedics? Maybe half, you think? I'm not sure, but there was more than 2. Okay, and then the other folks that were near him, were they just trying to do, of what you could see, were they just trying to do what they could do? Yeah. All right. Was anybody in any way disrespectful that was at the scene of this accident? No. Did everybody appear to you that they had been aware of a tragic accident happened, a bad accident happened, and they were just trying to do what they could do, that kind of a thing? Yes. When you went over and walked over and saw Mr. Rose, was his helmet still on? No. Do you know who took his helmet off? One of the witnesses had stated that they took his helmet off. Okay, and can you tell me what you saw, starting with his head? Did you see any blood? There was blood around his face, and that's all I can remember. Was anything disfigured on his face? I can't recall. Was anything disfigured of his person, of his body? I don't know. Do you have any memory of what he had on his clothing, if you do? No. No memory? I recall something black, but that's all that I can recall. Do you recall that there was anything that was inappropriate for a fellow who was on a motorcycle? No. In other words, you've seen people who have been on, as you're patrolling, they're wearing a t-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops, have you not? Yes. That was not the kind of apparel that he had on? No. Did he make any sounds? I don't recall. Did he make any moves? I don't believe so. And how long do you think you were there between the time you got to the scene and the time they loaded Jack up and onto an ambulance? 5 minutes at the most. And did you have any conversations with any of the paramedics? I believe I asked one of them where he was being taken, and I don't remember if they knew yet or not. And when they loaded him up, was it an ambulance or was it the fire type vehicles? It was a private ambulance. And did you have any conversations from the day of the accident at the scene up to today with any of the members of the fire crew that responded to this accident? No. Have you had any conversations with anyone from the ambulance crews that responded to this accident? No. Do you know where they took Jack? They took him to Kaiser Long Beach. Did you have any conversations with any of the doctors, nurses, or staff at Kaiser about him? No. Did you ultimately find out that he died in the accident? Yes. And how did you find that out? From Sergeant Platt. What did he say? He had told me that he called the hospital and was informed that Jack Rose had passed away. At that time, had you spoken with his wife? No. One of the things you mentioned that you'll do is, on these types of accidents, is you'll speak with maybe family members to try to reconstruct what the fellow or the lady had done within a 24-hour period to find out what they had been up to, that kind of thing. Yes. Did you do that with this case? Yes. Did you speak with Candy, his wife? Yes. And do you know what day it was that you spoke with Candy? Yeah, it was on October 26th. Got to be a tough thing to do, huh? Yeah, it was Sunday, October what now? I'm sorry. It was October 26th. I know that was a weekday because I called from down here in Long Beach. So it would have been probably a little more than a month after the accident. Correct. When you spoke to her, was she at home? I'm not sure. Did you call her? Yes. Do you know? You said you were here in Long Beach at the station. I was at Main Street Court. At the courthouse? Yes. Were you getting ready to testify or something and you were? I had finished and I was in my car waiting to go back to the station. Were you on a cell phone? Yes. Are those personal cell phones or issued by the department? They're personal. And you wanted to do a 24-hour profile of Jack to find out what he'd done? What page is that in the report that it's reported on? It's on page 18, beginning at line 8. When you spoke with Candy, was she cooperative with you? Yes. Seemed like a nice lady? Yes. Did she tell you that she had a couple of kids with Jack? I don't recall if she stated anything regarding children. Okay, did you ask her any questions about either her health, the children's health, or the state of health of Jack on as of the date of the accident? Yes. What did you ask her? I just asked her to let me know basically the days running up or the day before running up to the collision and how Jack was feeling and acting, and basically I wanted a timeline of what had happened within the last 24 hours. Okay, and she gave that to you? Correct. Okay, we have a word list. All right, here is your word list. Candy, capital C-A-N-D-Y. Jack Rose, capital J-A-C-K. Rose, capital R-O-S-E. Long Beach, Kaiser. I believe they also say Kaiser Long Beach. We've got Kaiser, capital K-A-I-S-E-R. And Long Beach, capital L-O-N-G, space, capital B-E-A-C-H. Sergeant Platt, capital S-E-R-G-E-A-N-T. Platt, capital P-L-A-T-T. Main Street Court, capital M-A-I-N. Street, capital S on street. Court, capital C on court. They do refer to it as Kaiser Long Beach. So capital K on Kaiser, K-A-I-S-E-R, and then Long Beach, capital L on long, space, capital B on beach. And that is it for the word list. Good luck.